All right, students, welcome back. I'm here to tell you about this week's assignments for language arts, week of June 8th through 12th. There really is your own pace this week. There's going to be two different things that you'll be doing, and you're just going to do it in the best way that works for you in order to get them done. There's two tasks. The first task is to respond to one or more of the options for the personal check-in. This week there are three different options posted on three different discussion boards. So you'll see those, and we'll talk about those here in a moment. And then task two is to revise and upload a piece of creative writing of your choice, a short story or poem, to the creative writing gallery media album. And so I'll have instructions for that for you. You can check out. So the check-in discussion options are as follows. The first one is an article and a radio episode. So you're going to go to a link. You'll see the link here at the bottom of the slide. Basically, you're going to be looking at Take the Mic, Black Teens Speak Out About Police Brutality and Racism, if you decide to do this option. It highlights the voices of three local black teens as they recount their experiences hearing about George Floyd's murder. They both connect what is happening in the news to their own life experiences, as well as discussing their drive in creating art. And it should actually be content warning, not trigger warning. The art created by Adonis Williams, one of the teens interviewed here, does contain a depiction of violence against the person of color that is described. So if you do not wish to view this, you may choose a different discussion option, or just simply listen to the interview at the top of the page without scrolling down. You may skip the fourth discussion question. All right. So you'll go to the link, and then you're going to respond to the following questions in the discussion post for option one. They are as follows. Were the experiences of Kalia at 7-Eleven or Adonis at his retreat surprising to you in any way? Why or why not? What stands out about their experiences? How did their experiences connect to the protests that were ignited by the murder of George Floyd? How are all three of these teens using their voices to affect change? And listen to Britannia's Gidey's poem at the bottom of the article. Why do you think she titled her poem, No Lives Matter? The second option is going to have you look at Campaign Zero. I know we've spent a little bit of time on this already, but you're going to go a little, if you do this option, you're going to dive a little deeper. So you're going to look through the website, and then you're going to answer the following questions. What is the problem? So summarize it. So they outline the problem, so I'm going to ask you to summarize it. Name a case connected to this problem you're aware of, current or historical. Sorry, that should say current or historical. Find one of their 10 solutions that stand out to you. So pick one and read through it carefully, summarize it. And then last is, how does that solution confirm your thinking, challenge your thinking, or surprise you? Option three is Something Happened in Our Town. It's a children's story about police brutality and how members of community process that. It is for younger audience, but children's stories often have really good themes, and they're also great catalysts for older audiences for discussion. For this story, watch the read aloud video at that link and answer the discussion questions in the Something Happened in Our Town discussion board. So, how are the conversations you're having at home about these issues similar to conversations in the books? How are they different? Why is Josh's father angry? How does he see this anger as being helpful or productive? What connections do you see between this story and what is currently happening in our world? And what do you think the theme or takeaway of this story is? So the second task is revision and gallery walk submission. You're going to submit either your fiction story or poetry. First, I'm going to show you some ideas for what you can do for fiction story revisions. Read your story, looking at specific story elements to improve. Use colored pencils, markers, underline, circle, highlight what you need to revise. Share your work with your family. Be specific about what types of feedback you want. First, use a macro approach and then a micro approach. We're going to talk a little more in detail about those in a minute. The macro vision involves revising your story for elements of fiction, such as setting, plot, and character. And the micro, you can look at style, grammar, spelling, and punctuation. So really, it's about revision, I would say, is the macro approach, and editing, I would say, is the micro approach. So things to consider, the setting and the time. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I would walk through each one. The plot, okay, so think about the different plot elements. Think about your character and what goal they have. Are you able to show that in your story? And what are you doing about description throughout the story? The micro stuff, again, it's like the editing. So what kind of grammar, spelling, punctuation are you using, and how are you, conveying that in your style? There's a fictional rubric that you can also look through, and I'll post that. It's in last week's folder, but I'll put it in this week's folder also for you. And then poetry revisions. Choose a poem you want to revise and submit. What do you love and want to keep? Use the following categories. We looked at a number of these. We didn't look at all of them, but think about metaphors, similes, details, imagery, repetition, personification, hyperbole, the senses. We talked about that. Stanza and line breaks. How are you structuring it and formatting your poem too? And then instead of uploading a photo to the media album, one option you have for your visual is to create a broadside. A broadside is basically an artfully created poster displaying your work. So see the next slide, for example. So what you are going to be doing with your submission, I haven't told you yet, is you'll be submitting in the content area in the comments your whole story or your whole poetry. And then you want to put in an image of something. So in this case, actually, when you do a broadside, you can just put the image in. You don't have to put any comments. You don't have to put the text there. You just put the broadside. So what do the broadsides look like? So they're handwritten, and they usually have like decorative illustrative elements, and also the way that you can see the first letters are capitalized here. You can see different images throughout it. Or you can see images at the bottom. You want to have the title, your name, and then it broken up into the stanzas of your poem. Be sure your poem is as you want it. Make sure to end each line on purpose. Add a title at your name, like I was just saying. Add borders. That's another part of a broadside. If your poem is long, make it 2 columns. Write in black ink or another dark color to really make it stand out. Don't use pencil for the broadside. The gallery walk. Okay, so we're going to talk about that submission. Save your story or poetry. Take a photo of yourself, a photo of something that represents your writing, or create a drawing that represents your writing. So these are your options for the visual. Keep it as an easy-to-read file. Use a format that everyone can easily access and would not require special software. So you could do this a variety of ways. Like if you're just going to submit the poem as a text, for instance, then you would want to include a photo. If you're going to do a broadside, you can just have that as your photo. As far as the fiction stories, you want to put the text in the comments section, and then you want to do a photo or a drawing. Whatever format you choose, remember the file conventions and remember the size, and then keep both those files handy. Then you're going to go through the same process we went through for Art with Attitude. You're going to attach the file, first it's uploading the photo or the drawing and adding that as your media. The second part's going to be copying and pasting, Control A and then Control C to copy and paste your poetry or your story, if that's how you want to go about it. The last is uploading your story or poetry. So copy and paste it all, format your text. So it won't, when you put it in there, it won't format it for you. So you're going to need to take some time to break up the paragraphs, break up the sections, break up the stanzas, however it is, for whether you're doing the story or the poetry. All right, if you have questions, you talk to me, office hours again, I'll be available. So I look forward to seeing what you guys submit.